Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Bible in 1 year with the preacher's husband. Now, today we're talking about Job, chapter 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now, we start out in chapter 17. Job is speaking, and he is hopeless. Here's what he says. My spirit is broken. My days are extinguished. A graveyard awaits me. Surely mockers surround me, and my eyes must gaze at their rebellion. Now that word rebellion can also be translated as defiance or hostility. And he's referring to his friends, the three friends that he's been arguing back and forth with. Now he still has a glimmer of hope though. In verse 9 of chapter 17, he says, Yet the righteous person will hold to his way, and the one whose hands are clean will grow stronger. So he still has a glimmer of hope. So he's not completely hopeless, but he's almost there. And then his friend Bildad jumps in. Bildad. And he starts out saying this. How long till you stop talking? Show some sense, and then we can talk. Why are we regarded as cattle and stupid in your sight? And then he refers to hopelessness as well in verse 5. Yes, the light of the wicked is extinguished. The flame of his fire does not glow. The light in his tent glows dark, and the lamp beside him is put out. He feels that Job is hopeless. There ain't no hope for Job either. And then he casts judgment on him in verse 21 of chapter 18. He says, Indeed, such is the dwelling of the unjust man, and this is the place of the one who does not know God. So he's telling Job that he doesn't even know God. And then Job replies. Here he goes. He says, How long will you torment me and crush me with words? You have humiliated me 10 times now, and you mistreat me without shame. Even if it is true that I have sinned, my mistake concerns only me. See, he's saying, this is between me and God, not you. You ain't got nothing to do with this. It ain't none of your business. If you really want to appear superior to me and would use my disgrace as evidence against me, then understand that it is God who has wronged me and caught me in this net. And then in verse 7, he says this, I cry out, violence, but get no response. I call for help, but there is no justice. Have you heard that lately? Have you heard that by any groups in the news lately? It's exactly what's happening with these protests. They're crying out violence, that violent things are happening, but they're not getting any response. They're calling for help, but there is no justice. Justice is not happening for them in their opinion, in their eyes. So think about that these days. Some of these protests that are going on, of course, the peaceful ones that I'm speaking of, are biblical. They're actually biblical. Job went through this as well. So think about that before we cast judgment upon others like Job's friends are doing. We get to verse 20. He says, I have escaped with only the skin of my teeth. Now I only put that in there because this is an old saying. I used to hear this from my granny, from my dad. They go, woo boy, I just got by the skin of my teeth. I had no idea that they got this from Job. So I learned something new. We get to chapter 19, verse 23, and Job says this. This stood out to me. He says, I wish that my words were written down, that they were recorded on a scroll, or were inscribed in stone forever by an iron stylus and lead. Job, your wish is granted, sir. It is written down forever for everyone to see right here in the Bible. You got your wish, buddy. And then on verse 25, it says, But I know that my Redeemer lives. Who knew that that's where that line of that song came from Redeemer? That was pretty amazing. And then we get to chapter 20, and of course, Zophar jumps in, and he starts right off like this. He says, This is why my unsettling thoughts compel me to answer, because I am upset. So he's upset with Job now. I have heard a rebuke that insults me, and my understanding makes me reply. So that was the end of verse 3. And then he goes on for 26 more verses ranting about Job. So we're going to stop there today. And I'm going to go back to the hopelessness aspect of this, of what we just read today. And when I think of hopelessness, and I think of Christians, I think about persecuted Christians, Christians who may not have it as well off as we do. You know, there's a lot of people going around today talking about how terrible America is, how our freedoms are just being trampled on, and we don't have any freedoms. And I even had one guy on Facebook ask me, he said, tell me why today in the United States of America is better than in the 1960s. Well, I could list you 100 different reasons, but I'm going to give one right here, and it's from Richard Wurmbrand. Now, Richard Wurmbrand, he lived from 1909 until 2001. He was a Romanian evangelical Christian minister, and he was an author, and he spent a total of 14 years imprisoned in Romania for his faith. Because he was a Christian, he was imprisoned in Romania for 14 years. And he also later on became the founder of the Voice of Martyrs, which is an interdenominational organization working with and for persecuted Christians around the entire world. And in 1967, he expressed his views about America, where we live. And I think there are no better words today than his words from 1967. Even in 67, we have made so much progress since the late 50s and early 60s that there's no way you can say that America is worse today than it was then. You just can't. If you look at it from a historical perspective and the perspective of a man who went through what he went through back then. And he says this: every freedom-loving man has two fatherlands, his own and America. Today, America is the hope of every enslaved man because it is the last bastion of freedom in the world. Only America has the power and spiritual resources to stand as a barrier between militant communism and the people of the world. It is the last dike holding back the rampaging floodwaters of militant communism. If it crumples, there is no other dike. There is no other dam, no other line of defense to fall back on. America is the last hope of millions of enslaved peoples. They look to it as their second fatherland. In it lies their hopes and their prayers. I have seen fellow prisoners in communist prisons beaten, tortured, with 50 pounds of chains on their legs, praying for America. That the dike will not crumble, that it will remain free. Now that freedom is worth fighting for. It's worth protesting for. It is. But I still believe today that America is a way better country than any other country that there is in the world. I'm proud to be an American, and I'm proud to live here. And I hope and pray that we find a way to come together in unity. And Jesus can do that. I love you guys. Blessings. I hope this has touched you. If it has, please share it. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and click that little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video. And tomorrow's reading will be Job chapter 21, 22, and 23. So 3 chapters tomorrow as we continue the saga. I will see you next time.